Do you believe that a ghost radio can help us connect dots for a murder case? If you haven't seen last week's episode about the Thai ghost call, hit the card in the upper right corner. Watch that first, then come back. Today's video won't make full sense without it, because what you're about to hear is the other side of the same nightmare. The view from the man everyone wishes had stayed silent. Alright, headphones on, lights down, let's begin. When that nameless woman rang the studio and gasped, "It followed me, and then it killed me," every listener froze. The host cut to commercials, the chat exploded, and the clip went viral in a single night. What almost no one knows is that 20 years later, another show got a call. Just as late, just as unexpected, but this time from the only living witness to the crime. He gave the name T. He sounded older than 30, heavy-voiced, like someone who smoked cheap cigarettes through basic training. The moment he said hello, the host knew T wasn't dialing for fun. You could feel the weight hanging on every breath. T opened with a sentence that didn't line up at first. "I'm calling because the voice that was aired was still alive when I met it," he said. The host asked what he meant. T inhaled, and the story came spilling out. T grew up outside Chiang Mai, a place where the jungle begins at the back fence and the night has no street lamps. At 8 years old, he was sent to fetch water from a neighbor's pump. Carrying a dented can, barefoot and curious, he followed a footpath between cassava fields. Halfway along, something snapped, a dry twig, maybe a boot heel. He stopped, listening. Then another sound fell into place, a rhythm his brain couldn't name. Thud, drag, like someone hauling a sack of rice across gravel. He inched closer to the tree line. The moon hid behind cloud sheet, forcing his eyes to adjust. That's when the woman appeared, bound from ankles to shoulders in coarse rope, hopping like a child in a potato sack race, head jerking as she searched for anyone who could help. She whispered, "Save me," once, and that was all she had time for. A man in an army raincoat snapped the rope, yanked her backward, and vanished into darkness. T bolted, water slapping his legs. He ran all the way home shouting for his parents. They told him he'd watched an outdoor movie screening and dreamed the rest. But the sound stayed with him. Thud, drag, nights he'd wake under a thatch roof, sweat on his neck, certain the rhythm had slipped through the window. Let me know in the comments. Have you ever carried a memory so vivid it refuses to fade, even decades later? I read every reply. In Thailand, every 20-year-old male draws a card to see if he'll serve. T pulled red, which meant 2 years. He reported to a base carved into a valley, flat barracks penned by limestone. Basic training was the usual mix of rain, push-ups, and NCOs who enjoyed their whistles too much. T kept his head down until one night he got into a fistfight, cracked a sergeant's nose, and earned 60 days in the stockade. Military jail is a cage within a cage. Most cells house 6 men on bamboo mats, but one corner held a separate block, fenced twice, lit by a single bulb 24 hours a day. Guards called it the red zone. The man locked inside was never named, just Uncle Rope. Rumors said he'd served in a special unit up north, then vanished into the jungle, then re-emerged with more than a dozen charges in a mine that had snapped somewhere between the mountains and here. Halfway through T's sentence, a senior guard assigned him mop duty in the restricted corridor. No one volunteered, they all knew the smell. Bleach over rusted metal, over old sweat. T stepped through a grated door, bucket in hand. Rows of regular cells stared back with bored faces, but at the far end, inside a square stockade welded to the floor, sat a human shape in shackles. The man he'd heard about, wrists and ankles chained to an iron frame. He was lighter than any mugshot had implied, stringy muscles hanging off bone, hair shaved to fuzz, eyes open wide but rolling as if he tracked a memory floating above his head. T kept the bucket between them and began scrubbing. The brush rasped metal, water turned pinkish in old rust. The prisoner muttered, voice sandpapery, words falling out in fragments. Cold ground, she jumps, rope pulls, no breath. The pattern repeated, some phrases lost but the rhythm stayed. Cold ground, jump, rope, no breath. T's mop slowed. The cadence matched the thud drag he'd carried since childhood. He listened harder. The prisoner's face tilted as if some hidden hinge allowed only one direction. "Jump once," he whispered. "Cry once, rope tight, no breath." T froze. The memory of the field, the cassava plants, and the woman bound like a puppet clicked into place. This was the man who dragged her back across dirt. 40 men in that stockade, and only T recognized the riddle. Anger drowned every regulation. T stepped forward, grabbed the chain between the prisoner's wrists, and yanked, smashing the older man's forehead against the bars. Guards sprinted, hauled T off, cuffed him to a pipe for 12 hours of isolation. But T said it was worth it, because before they dragged him away, he saw the dull eyes light up for a split second, recognition or maybe fear, and heard one clear sentence spill from broken lips. She begged, "But rope is stronger." Isolation gave T new nightmares. The woman's bound figure hopped just beyond reach. The rhythm clicked in empty hallways. Once, half asleep, he thought he heard her whisper at the door, "I'm still here." 2 years passed. T was released, took day labor where he could find it, and tried to bury the past under cheap beer and long shifts. Then one night, he stayed up late and tuned into Night Echo, the very show that had played the ghost call years before. A topic about unfinished spirits of Chiang Mai came up. T's hands went clammy. Without planning it, he dialed the studio number. You know the first half. He told the host about the rope-bound woman, about the prisoner's muttered phrases, and about the moment he realized they belonged to one chain of events. The host, who remembered every second of the original ghost call, listened in stunned silence. T ended with a confession. "I think I'm the only living witness. She found a way to speak once, but the man who took her breath is still breathing behind bars." The call finished, but the chain of interviews did not. Police reopened a dormant case file. An officer from Chiang Mai contacted T and confirmed that 22 years earlier, a missing person report had been filed for a young woman who disappeared near the very cassava field T once walked. The file held a single note: suspect may have military connection. The case never went further because no body was found. Meanwhile, Uncle Rope, whose real name the Army still refuses to publish, died in custody 6 months after T's release. Official cause: pneumonia, though fellow inmates said he spent his last week babbling about a woman who kept hopping toward the light. The day after he died, the lights in the restricted block flickered all night, small bulbs popping one by one. That's the bare-bones story, but loose threads remain. First, how did the woman's voice punch through the telephone line years after her death? Was it simple coincidence, or can terror stay printed on a place, replaying like a warped cassette until the right listener picks up? Second, why did only T, his mother, and that friend hear her call for help the night she died? Could fear or guilt act as tuning forks while everyone else stays deaf? Drop your theories below. Do you think T's childhood memory and the prisoner's babble prove a supernatural echo? Or was T prone to suggestion? I'm curious where you land. Some of you have asked for deeper dives into Thai prison lore. It's a world sealed tight with rituals most outsiders never witness. Inmates draw protective tattoos, bribe guards for ghost amulets, and tell stories of shadows that visit overcrowded cells at 3 in the morning. The hour staff call the time of wheezing, because that's when the sick struggle hardest to breathe in stale air. If that interests you, let me know with a lantern emoji in the comments. I'm lining up interviews with former inmates willing to talk anonymously, and if the demand is there, I'll bring those stories to the channel. T's call never reached the viral heights of the original ghost clip, but among die-hard paranormal fans, it's considered the quiet key that completes the lock. The woman's desperation, the killer's fragmented confession, the child witness turned soldier turned avenger. They form one loop where the living and the dead keep tugging the same rope. Before we sign off, a small ritual for anyone still listening in the dark. Take a breath. Picture the rope uncoiling, the knots falling, the woman walking free. Let the image float out into the night so that wherever she is, she feels less bound. If you're new here, hit subscribe. We dive into real paranormal accounts from across Asia every week. Hit like if tonight's story kept you leaning forward, and share it with a friend who thinks ghost calls are pure fiction. As for T, according to the host, he never phoned again. Some say he burned every rope he owned and moved south to fish boats. Others claim he roams temple fairs, making merit for souls that died begging to be heard. Maybe next year, during Hungry Ghost Month, we'll find out. Until then, keep your mirrors closed, keep your phone lines clear, and never ignore a voice that asks for help, because sometimes the dead dial long distance. Good night, and I'll see you in the next episode.